Hey, guys, today we've got a special episode. Let's talk about cars that even 90s animators would have had panic attacks over. These are the cars that look like they were built from leftover parts after a cartoon about the future, but definitely not a very successful one. Let's dive in and check out which cars from that time could easily star in a movie called Horror on Wheels. 1. Chevrolet Lumina 1990. All cars from General Motors built on the GM10 platform had somewhat mixed results when it came to design. Some were ahead of their time, others simply missed the mark. But the Chevrolet Lumina, it felt like a step too far. Imagine walking into a room and everyone is wearing bold, striking colors, and then someone walks in wearing a beige outfit that blends completely into the background. That's the Lumina. It doesn't spark any emotions, neither love nor hate. It's just there. In real life, when a car is as forgettable as the Lumina, it becomes harder for the brand to stand out. Chevrolet, known for more iconic designs like the Camaro and Corvette, couldn't translate that same passion into this sedan. And while it may have been practical, that lack of visual identity meant the Lumina struggled to create any lasting emotional connection with its buyers. 2. Pontiac Trans Sport 1990. When the Pontiac Trans Sport debuted, American experts were quick to call it the ugliest car ever made. Now, that's a bold statement, but when you look at its unconventional shape and odd proportions, it's easy to see where they were coming from. Think of it like that one design you see in a creative art class that's a little too out there. Everyone talks about it, but no one quite gets it. But here's the thing. In the 2000s, Pontiac made a major misstep with another car, the Pontiac Aztek. And guess what? That car took the crown for the ugliest car title, bumping the Trans Sport from the top spot. It's a classic example of how bold designs can backfire if they don't hit the mark. If you're a car enthusiast or a collector, the Trans Sport could be a unique addition to your collection. But for the average buyer, it's a reminder that bold doesn't always mean better. Sometimes, subtlety and function win the day. 3. Ford Taurus 1996. Ford's attempt with the Taurus in 1996 was a bold one, designed to be modern, sleek, and fit the trends of the time. The idea was to create a car that was rounded and friendly, like a soft-edged pebble rather than a sharp rock. But as you can imagine, in the execution, it didn't exactly come across as elegant. It looked, well, a little goofy. However, the Taurus did have one saving grace: the interior. It was well designed for its time, with a comfortable, practical layout that made it easy to use. The seats were supportive, the materials felt high quality, and there was good space for passengers. So, while the exterior left much to be desired, the Taurus showed that sometimes practicality and comfort can outweigh aesthetics, especially for families looking for an affordable, reliable ride. 4. Suzuki X-90 1995. The Suzuki X-90 was supposed to be a compact, sporty, and economical SUV, and it delivered on some fronts. It was quick, agile, and a fun ride to drive. However, its design left people scratching their heads. The X-90 was so square and boxy, with a rear end that looked like it was stuck in the 80s, that it looked more like a piece of furniture than a car. But here's the thing. The X-90 was a reliable little off-roader. It had the right combination of size and power, especially if you lived in a city where parking was tight and you needed a little SUV to navigate urban spaces. Yet, the strange looks made it tough to win over mainstream buyers. If you're after a car that gets you from A to B without much fuss, the X-90's practicality might still be a good option. Just don't expect it to turn heads unless it's for the wrong reasons. 5. Renault Twingo 1992. The Renault Twingo, designed by Patrick Lucamin, was an attempt to make a cute, quirky city car. The idea was that the front would look like a smiling face, friendly and welcoming. But the result? It kind of looked like it was afraid of something. It's one of those cars where you look at it and think, what were they going for here? Inside, it didn't get much better. With quirky features like a CD player positioned vertically and odd seat upholstery, the Twingo felt like a car stuck in its own weird world. The instrument cluster, designed to be in the center to make production easier for different countries, was a good idea in theory, but in practice, it just confused drivers. And let's not even get into the antenna growing out of the side mirror. It's a reminder that sometimes trying too hard to be different can lead to a misstep. Still, if you're someone who loves the quirky, retro appeal of cars, the Twingo has become a bit of a cult classic. But it's one of those cars where you either love it or you don't. 6. Ford Scorpio 1994. The Ford Scorpio from the 90s was a car that didn't know what it wanted to be. On the one hand, it had some high-tech features for its time, like a full-width rear light and a dashboard with too much fake wood trim. But on the other hand, its design was just bizarre. The bulging headlights, strange body lines, and overwhelming use of plastic wood didn't exactly scream luxury. 5 years of poor sales eventually led to the Scorpio's discontinuation. Ford, despite its attempt to bring something bold to the market, never really explained the thinking behind this design. If you're a Ford fan, the Scorpio is a fascinating, quirky piece of automotive history, but it's hard to imagine it being anyone's first choice. This car teaches us a valuable lesson. Innovation is great, but it has to be grounded in in something people actually want. 7. Buick Riviera 1995. The Buick Riviera, with its smooth, curvy design, tried to embody a sense of elegance and grace. But the problem was that buyers couldn't decide if it looked like a whale or a beluga, and that confusion didn't help it find its place in the market. The car's sleek lines just didn't resonate with most buyers. It's a great example of how design can be subjective. While some may see beauty in the Riviera's flowing curves, others simply saw an oddity. Despite its luxurious interior, the car struggled to capture the hearts of drivers. But for those of us who love classic, underappreciated cars, the Riviera remains a unique gem, just not one everyone is going to love. 8. Chrysler Imperial 1990. The Chrysler Imperial was supposed to be a luxury sedan, but its design was more funeral procession than red carpet. The car's appearance was a complete departure from the more graceful luxury sedans of its time, leaning into a more heavy-handed and somber aesthetic. Inside, however, the Imperial did have a luxurious interior, one that would have been fitting for a car of its class. Unfortunately, the weird exterior killed its chances of being taken seriously as a luxury vehicle, and Chrysler gave up on the Imperial after just a few years. The lesson here: if you're trying to position a car as high-end, the exterior needs to reflect that too. Luxury is about more than just leather seats and polished wood. It's about elegance, balance, and refinement. The Imperial missed that mark. 9. Hyundai Coupe 1996. In the 90s, Hyundai, like many other car brands, tried to jump on the trend of rounded tail lights. The problem was, this particular styling decision didn't exactly look flattering on the Hyundai Coupe. Instead of adding a touch of sophistication, it made the car look less sleek and more awkward. That's the thing about trends in car design. They can either make or break a model. Hyundai did well in many other areas, but the Coupe's tail lights became its defining flaw. If you're thinking about buying a classic 90s Hyundai, maybe skip a Coupe and look at something with more timeless appeal. 10. Nissan S Cargo 1989. The Nissan S Cargo is perhaps the most amusing entry on this list. Its design, inspired by a small delivery van, was quirky to say the least. With headlights that seemed to smile at you and a body that looked like it came straight from a Japanese anime, the S Cargo was designed for small businesses and food vendors who needed a functional and unique vehicle. But let's be honest, it's hard to take a car like this seriously. With only 12,000 units sold, it's clear the S Cargo was a niche vehicle that found limited success. Still, for anyone interested in a fun, nostalgic look at unconventional car design, the S Cargo stands as a playful reminder that not every car needs to be a sleek powerhouse. Sometimes, it's okay to embrace the weird. Final thoughts. The cars we've discussed may have missed the mark in terms of design, but they each have their own unique stories to tell. Whether you're a fan of quirky designs, or you appreciate the lessons these cars offer about what works and what doesn't, there's no denying that each of them adds to the rich tapestry of automotive history. If you're in the market for a classic or just love learning about unusual designs, these models are worth considering, not necessarily for their looks, but for the stories they tell. And remember, in the world of car design, what's loved by some is often overlooked by others. It's all about perspective, and sometimes what's ugly today might just be tomorrow's classic.